Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas Podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, out there in just Super Bowl country, is I guess what we call it now, Corban Ford.
Yeah.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. You said it is Super Bowl country. It's crazy out here. Traffic's insane. Fortunately, I work just short of Phoenix, but I'm also close enough that I'm able to see, and it doesn't look good. So I plan on bunkering down all weekend. All I'm invested in, when my friend asked me like who am I rooting for, I said the commercials. So
Oh, you're good for the water cooler. Like the Monday morning when you go back to the office, you're ready. You're built for that. Where you're like, yeah, what did y'all think about the commercials? What did you think about this one? What did you think about that one? You're that.
Yeah.
You can do that, because that was never my jam. I'm not a commercial guy, Corban. I've never done it.
I get you. I'm only a Super Bowl commercial guy, and that's in the hopes of laughing. I used to be more into football. Well, that's not really true. I've always been a Saints fan. Well, our week ended week 6. So, like, our season ended week 6. So, I haven't really been as invested. I'm not going to lie. I'm not fond of either the Eagles or the Chiefs. And really, it's because they're fans. So, I can't really root for anyone. So, if I got to root for anything, I know we got the Flash commercial coming out, the Flash trailer. Kind of a DC geek. I'm going to tune into that.
Okay.
Hopefully, I see the commercial that made me laugh. And then I might just play some 2K. I don't even know. Like, I'm that.
Who's gonna be the Flash this time? Is it still Ezra Miller or no?
It's still Ezra Miller.
That's insane.
Yeah, they doubled down. They're committing to him. I trust me. I have so many thoughts on James Gunn and DC. Whole nother podcast for a whole nother universe. But yeah, I don't like any of it. But I'm excited to see. It's Michael Keaton. Batman's gonna be back in there. So is Ben Affleck's Batman. Just for that, I'm in.
That's weird. Wait, Ben Affleck's Batman's in it? Like, so is this not a part of the new universe? Is this just like one of the things they're finishing up from the last universe, or is just this like okay?
That's what I'm hearing. It's supposed to wrap up. It's coming off of like the Flashpoint comic storyline, which is it's where he kind of goes. The Flash goes back in time to undo the events that led to the murder of his mother, and then so just wrecks all of the time continuum in DC universe. So like in Batman's universe, it was not Bruce Wayne's parents who died, it was Bruce Wayne who died. His dad becomes Batman, his mother becomes the Joker. Aquaman and Wonder Woman are like hated adversaries. Like, it's all kinds of crazy. So they're kind of adapting that storyline a little bit. But they also have a Supergirl, which is weird because she will never appear again. But neither again will Michael Keaton's Batman or apparently Ben Affleck's Batman either. So this is a one-off, and I'm okay. I'm here for it.
It's also just weird because it's like you already had the new Batman come out, so you already have the new guy ready to go, and you're going kind of back in time a little bit.
Yeah, they settled that by saying it's Elseworld. So that's how they did that one.
You know what I encourage folks? My wife and I, we go to movies a lot, but we just went to over the weekend. Last weekend, we saw Knock at the Cabin, which is
what's that?
Very good.
Okay,
very fun. It's a fun time.
And I was intrigued. Okay.
Yes, it's worth your time. It's a good time. It's not too long. It keeps you on your toes. Like, I was going back and forth on which way. I don't want to spoil too much, but you're definitely on your toes, and you're not 100% convinced until the very end of what's actually going on here. But it's a good time. Dave Bautista, man, he's a good actor, and it's a very well done movie. I enjoyed it.
Okay, you've officially got me intrigued.
Yes, I would highly recommend it, Corban. I would highly recommend it. What I would not recommend doing, though, in the year of 2023, Corban, is trading for Kyrie Irving, which is what the Dallas Mavericks did. And shout out to our friend, Mavs Moneyball's Lauren Gunn, who's going through it this week. And her team traded for Kyrie Irving. I think she even tweeted like ahead of time that like the Mavs could put together the best package over your Lakers and a few other different competing teams for the services of Kyrie Irving. But ultimately, Kyrie Irving is now a Dallas Maverick. He joins up with Luka. The report is that they consulted with Luka before making such a deal. Dorian Finney-Smith, a couple picks, and Spencer Dinwiddie to Brooklyn. Corban, your immediate reaction to this trade and your gut instinct tells you the Mavs or the Nets will end up a couple years from now looking like, oh, they won this trade.
I mean, it's so weird because I don't know. Like right now, my immediate reaction was Dang, I almost
Mm,
cursed on here. Like the Mavericks must be desperate.
mm,
That's the only thing I can think of. Like, why else would they take on a risk of Kyrie? Mind you, I'm partial to Kyrie the player. I am.
mm,
I think that he is an electrifying player. I think that offensively he's been at a sub All NBA level this season. I think that he will work well with Luca. At the same time, I mean, all the baggage that comes with Kyrie is indeed just that. And you have to be willing to take that on. Dallas doesn't exactly seem like the most stable of organizations in terms of who I would most trust to take on Kyrie Irving. But then again, I want him on the Lakers, so what does that tell about me? But aside from that, like I thought, okay, if Dallas is going to take that risk and give away their best perimeter defender, then wow, this is where we're at. What does it say about how the Mavericks feel about Luka Doncic? What does it say about how self-conscious Mark Cuban was about rebuilding, the Mavs team and not making it so Luka centric that he felt like he could do everything and fan solid as well. Like, what did it say about the infrastructure of the Dallas front office? That's what I thought. But then
mm.
again, I mean, I get it. You want to take a chance on a talented player. It could go really well. What does really well even look like? Is that finals berth? Is that going to Western Conference Finals again because you did it last year? So are you topping that now? Not really, because it's not a Jalen Brunson for Kyrie Irving swap. It's a Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith, the Spencer Dinwiddie for Kyrie Irving swap. Essentially, Kyrie and Markieff Morris, and then also I don't know. It's one of those things that if it doesn't work out well, it could be shades of 2015 Dallas Mavericks when they had a
Mm.
decent thing going, mind you. Remember they had a decent point guard in Jameer Nelson, not spectacular, hadn't fallen off all the way, was spacing the floor, knocking down threes, good in the pick and roll. That was it. Wasn't great, but he was decent, and they wanted the upgrade, and they made that midseason trade, and they got Rajon Rondo, who was the star. Uh, Also the embattled player from his previous team. And we saw how that worked out. This could be the very similar situation. Spencer Dinwiddie, not amazing, but if you look at his numbers, especially in isolation, he was doing pretty decently playing off of Luka. Solid guard, not gonna, pack the seats, but definitely was someone who was doing his job. And now you get a player who's, yes, the upside is definitely way higher with Kyrie, but so is that basement.
Yeah, and I think they're kind of doing the. I mean, it's so weird because Jason Kidd, obviously a defensive minded guy, and they've kind of like, especially last year, was more of the defensive identity. They play a like. I understand it in a couple different ways for the Mavs, where it's like, all right, we're seventh in offense right now. I think they're 0-7 when Luka doesn't play this year, and it's kind of the same thing that the Atlanta's calculus was. I think this summer when they traded for Dejounte, where it's like, all right, it's been a couple years, we still can't figure out what to do when Trey sits. And when Trey sits, it's a problem because so much of the usage goes to Trey when he's on the court. Like so much of the offense and how this team runs revolves around Trey. I think that's kind of what you saw in Dallas, especially this year with Luka putting up an MVP type season. But like if he misses or he sits, like it's just still not great. And then you lose Jalen Brunson for nothing. That's the other just thing that I come back to with all this. It's like you could have avoided this whole thing by just locking in Jalen Brunson. Like Jalen Brunson should have never gotten to free agency. Jalen Brunson should have never departed for nothing. Like that's more of a disaster than I think we even talked about in this program, Corban. It's just that like Jalen Brunson's having a really great all-star type year. He's not the problem that Kyrie presents itself. Obviously not the same upside, but like you just got to the Western Conference Finals with Jalen Brunson, and there were still ways to improve this team around Brunson and Luka. Like, granted, a little bit more complicated than a lot of other teams around the league, but you still could have done something more, and you still would have had your basically two all stars locked in for the next couple of years. And instead, you kind of had to do this desperation move and send out a really good player and two really good players in Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie to just take a long shot on Kyrie. But like you're seventh in adjusted offense per dunks and threes, 23rd in defense. What's probably going to happen here, right, is they're going to fall significantly more on defense. They're going to fall to like 28, 29, but they might get up to two. They might get up to one offensive in adjusted offense, like with these two. Like nobody wants to deal with them in a 7-game series because I mean those are just two of the best half court shot creators in the NBA. Like if you're Memphis, you want no part of Dallas. Like you want no part of a 4 or 5 matchup with Dallas because your problem is your half court offense. Like your half court offense is just is not working. You go up against Luka and Kyrie in crunch time, like it's going to be a lot of your turn, my turn, but my instinct is it's still going to be that's a team that is going to be really, really difficult to beat in a 7-game series, to beat 4 times, because I think that's just those are 2 guys who were just built to dominate in the playoffs.
I agree completely. I think Kai Duncan actually did a great piece on him too, because you're right. Like if it's going to be your turn, my turn, then it's going to be as good as we've seen, right? But
Mm,
at the same time, like Kyrie's also versatile. Pin down, Chicago action, things like that. He's also going to be very versatile in that regard too. His gravity's a shooter is going to attract more attention as well. And you're right. I mean, Coach Tyronn Lue for the Clippers, who I still don't think is a great matchup for the Mavericks. I mean, there's no way with the size they have and the just depth of wing players that's a good matchup. But at least on one end, Dallas can make it very, very competitive because, as Tyrone Lue said,
mm,
when they played Brooklyn, they blitzed Kyrie. When they played Dallas, they blitzed Luka. You can't blitz both.
mm,
You know what I mean? And if you give either those guys a 2-on-1 advantage, whatever the case may be, or him playing roll man on the top, him being able to pull up to a jumper, or take the advantage off of that while your defense is scrambling, like that's dangerous. So I agree. There's a few teams that don't want to deal with that. The problem is at the very top. I mean, again, in this league, it's at the very top in this Western Conference doesn't mean a whole lot. But Denver, I think would be very interesting. I think they have just enough wing defenders to make it interesting, and just enough offense at just the right positions to make it very hard for Dallas to stay in the mix. But if your other teams, like this could be a problem. It could definitely be a problem. Like you said, I like that Memphis matchup. I think that a Minnesota Dallas matchup would be good. What I'm really intrigued by is a New Orleans Dallas matchup.
hmm.
Just all the different cross matches and attacking, all of that can go on. Because as good as Luka and Kyrie are on offense, we both know for different reasons defensively they're not the best.
Mm.
So
I also just we'll see. I don't want to make a prediction on Kevin Durant and what happens here because like over the next 40 hours a lot can change after we post this podcast. So like we'll see what happens with KD and Brooklyn. But from Brooklyn's side of it, like let's operate under the assumption that KD sticks around and the Nets stick with that KD is part of this. I'm curious, like, if KD sticks around over the next 48 hours, I think they have to do something else. Like, they're not going to just roll with this group with like 9 capable wings. Like, they are just so littered with quality veteran wings now that like you have to move a couple of these guys for something else. And it's like the most obvious one is something that I don't think they have any control over making, where it's just like if I'm Sean Marks, I'm just camping out DC headquarters where I'm like, all right, what is it going to take to get Beal over here and partner with Kevin Durant over the next couple of years? Like, what is it going to take? Like, what are we doing down there in DC? Like, we'll give you a couple of intriguing young wings, give you some picks, like whatever. I don't really know what Brooklyn can do to kind of re readjust on the fly post Kyrie in the middle of this week. Like I don't nobody like when you go through the trade machine, you go through different rosters. I'm like, I don't really know who they could really still bring in that would appease KD and also just raise their ceiling enough where they could really compete with the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Sixers in a 7-game series come playoff time.
yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. I think that there's
Mm.
been talks about them looking to possibly get in the mix for a Fred VanVleet or a Pascal Siakam, right? I mean,
But that just
I'd
doesn't do
still
enough, right?
no, but honestly, like you said, I think it's almost there's parallel between that and my Lakers. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I don't know if there is going to be a move that you can construct right now feasible, with the
Mm.
assets at play to net you a player that says, okay, we're back in tension. And honestly, let's be real. When you lose Kyrie Irving, with all the stuff he comes with, he is a fantastic basketball player, definitely a star player. You definitely get a star back in value, some of that due to the depreciation of his own trade value and also the stat of his contract, whatever the case may be. You didn't get a star back, right? So now you are trying to make a trade with less than what you had to upgrade your roster. Doesn't make sense. It's like when the Lakers reportedly, I mean, we know that they didn't get Kyrie because the Nets didn't want to trade Kyrie to him. But also, there's another reason. If the Nets wanted, picks and winning players, Lakers are barely winning. Don't really have a lot of winning players. So, you're coming with less than whole and saying, "Oh, I want to be better."
Mm.
Like Chase, you have $100. I got
Mm.
15. Let's make this happen. There's no way it's gonna happen.
Mm.
And I think that's where you're at. I don't know. Like I feel it feels like it'd be way too quick with, 2 days left by the time this drops?
Yeah.
1 day left by the time this
One
drops
day.
before
Yeah.
trade deadline for Kevin Durant to request a trade and the Nets to honor that immediately. Boom. At the same time, we've seen crazier, right? So
Mm.
that's the one school of thought. The other school of thought is, okay, scramble before KD requests a trade again this summer to try to put a competing team around him and hope that he can just elevate this squad of random appendages to more than the sum of their parts, a la LeBron James of 2018.
Mm.
When they restructured. And also, there's some parallels there too. Both teams are constructed mostly behind the lead of their star player. Both teams did not launch. Fair to launch was a thing, and then front office had to scramble to retool and say, okay, we try to make chicken salad out of chicken-ish, and let's see what you can do. And we'll see what happens. I mean, I think the East is significantly tougher than it was when LeBron was reigning.
Mm.
So that's one thing. But also, I just don't know if the Nets have that type of capital. And let's be real, the Cavs back then could have done even more. They
Mm.
just didn't want to let go of that one pick that they had from Boston, I think, or no, from Brooklyn, that ended up being Colin Sexton.
Mm.
So, I mean, if they dangled that pick, they could have probably netted a bigger fish. I don't remember that far back on who were the targets. But the point being is, like, the Nets have less to work with from both a player perspective and a draft capital perspective to make it happen. But at the same time, they have no other choice unless they want to see Kevin Durant leave, whether he asks tomorrow or whether he asks today, rather, or asks, in the summer.
Yeah, we'll see ultimately what happens here, but I mean, it's interesting nonetheless. The West is wide open. I don't think anyone feels great about any of the West contenders. I think the East is completely different, where it's 4 teams now down to 3. I think after the Kyrie trade that can win the East, it's just the Sixers, Bucks, and Celtics. It would be interesting to see though if I'm the Nets, if the Celtics really did come to you for a KD for Jalen swap, like you're doing that immediately because I don't think you're going to get anything close to that good of a package for Kevin Durant. I mean, it would hurt to end it that way, but like you could do way worse than restarting around Jalen Brown and really giving him his own team and like his and just what he's been. I mean, it'd be a huge gamble if you're Boston, but if you're Boston, you're also like Tatum, and we talk about the 7-game series stuff, like beating a healthy Kevin Durant and Jason Tatum 4 times out of 7. It's just going to be really, really hard to do. And there's just not, you haven't seen 2 wings like that who are that good, both sides of offensively and defensively now. We're like, that would be something special, but health permitting, like, what you have with Jalen and KD, and they're going to play a lot of basketball together. Kevin Durant and the injury stuff, like, you still just, there's more of a risk. The ceiling is higher. You feel better about winning a title with Tatum and KD, but I don't know. That would be the most interesting development here, is if that became a serious thing. Klay Thompson hit 12 threes last night, Corbin. I wanted to briefly touch on this because I watched this, I went back through it. Like, all of them are different kind of shots. Like, he's just kind of been forgotten. Obviously, he missed 2 seasons, but prior to last year. Last year was the first year I looked this up that he shot below 40%. Like every other year of his NBA career, which is insane. He has never, even his rookie year, there was no adjustment for him from Washington State to Golden State. He averaged at least 40% from 3. Last year was 38% coming back from the Achilles and the knee in consecutive seasons. But like, you watched it last night, it was so much fun. And the ball movement for Golden State, man, when it's cooking like that, there was so many extra passes, and Jordan Poole shot the ball really well, and he played really well, and he's needed to be that, especially with Steph now being out for at least a month, it looks like, because the Warriors are in rocky territory, right? If they don't have Steph now and they're fighting for their postseason lives, like, Steph will not be here for just the critical point of this season where, like, they're trying to get in that 4 or 5 zone where they were a year ago and at least have one run of home court. But without him, you could easily see them be a play-in team. And then it's like, well, you're probably not winning the title because play-in teams generally, like, they're just not running the gauntlet like that down there. I am so fascinated to see what Klay does, because I think this might be the under-talk, but we were like, oh, who's going to step up? Is it going to be Kuminga? Is it going to be Draymond? Is it going to be Andrew Wiggins? Starting to figure out, I'm like, what if it's just Klay is going nuclear more nights than not? I mean, what if this 12-3 performance is kind of like, oh, Klay is just going to take over for a month and have a crazy usage and take a lot more off the dribble threes and just be like, I'm putting the team on my back. I'm putting Steph and this team on my back because I've been away, and I want people to remember that. Just I'm a star, and I can still do this thing at my age.
Yeah, that would be crazy. I mean, we've seen some good before. We had a 54-point game.
Yeah,
He's had, like you said, the
60,
12
I
three.
think, right? Didn't he do 60?
Maybe.
I
I,
thought he did his
everyone's
60.
been getting
Yeah.
60 so many times, Chase. I can't even tell you.
I
I
thought
feel
he
like,
did 60 was the night that he didn't like all the threes where he didn't dribble like all the time. He did not.
oh, yes. Oh, before. No, he's done his career. I
Yeah.
meant this year. Yeah.
Oh, this year,
No,
yeah.
my
No.
fault. No, he's
Yeah.
definitely done 60. I was like, I don't know. You could have told me Edmund Summer had 50. I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
interesting. No, but no, no, he's definitely done it in his career for sure. Like,
Mm.
yes, and the fact that he's still having games like this year
Mm.
is great because you're getting 33, coming off of a couple of just horrific injuries, and knowing that, listen, you aren't getting to the basket like that. You know what I mean? You're
Mm.
not breaking a guy off the dribble. You're just shooting. You're doing a dang good job at it. This is what you made your career on. That and defense, which is kind of slip, but still, like to see the Warriors come together. I think most importantly in the wake of having Steph Curry, that news come out with all those
Mm.
two injuries I couldn't even pronounce. You know,
Same.
exactly. Yeah, to have them respond in that way was great. To see the ball
Mm.
movement work out the way it did was amazing. To see Klay Thompson look of Klay Thompson of 2015 was awesome. And you can't depend on that all the time. You're not going to have a really good in check Jordan Poole game. He played really composed throughout, scoring
Mm.
and assisting. Kind of had that balance there. Role players stepped up, like you said. Ball was moving on a string. It was beautiful. That's not always going to be it because this team is not the beautiful Warrior squad that we've seen for years before. A lot of young guys there, like you said. A lot of wondering who's going to step up, and we still know how long Curry's going to be out in a tougher Western Conference with a team that isn't as strong. But at their peak, when they get these moments, it's still magical.
It is, and I'm excited to see what they look like over the next month. We're going to learn a lot about who the Warriors are and if they can still win the
Mhm.
title this year over the next month. And they'll have to do it without Steph. Um, Corbin, should LeBron breaking Kareem's record change any fans' minds about him being the GOAT? As we're recording this before LeBron, he needs to score, what, 38 tonight?
36.
36 to break it.
Mhm.
Does it matter? Like, I was thinking about that the other day where I'm like, I wonder if LeBron thinks it matters. Where I just it's such a played out argument of, like, whether or not, he's the GOAT in this. It seems like most fans, myself included, have MJ1 and LeBron 2, and, like, I still would not get in, like, a huge back and forth, like, the Kobe over Michael and LeBron is where it's like, "Alright, we gotta draw the line here,"
Mhm.
but, like, it's I don't know, I just wonder, does it change any minds if he becomes the all-time scorer and it's just that he can say that forever, where it's like he already has the longevity, he's now the all-time scorer, he has the titles, he's just the longevity and just staying healthy, the way he's taking care of his body, like, I mean, he's done it on so many different teams, he's reinvented himself so many different times, like, I don't know, what do you think about that? Do you see this changing any minds, after he pulls this off one day this week, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping it's tonight. Like Kareem's going to be there. Some of his family and friends are going to be there. Mind you, playing against like Lou Dort and another team that definitely doesn't want you to score it. It's not the Houston Rockets, so you
Said
know,
back to back too, because the Thunder just got cooked by the Warriors the previous night,
yeah.
so it's
So, and also, who's to say that he does that and they're getting blown up by a Thunder?
mm,
But anyways, we're not going to go into that. To answer your question,
mm,
I don't know. I tend to lean LeBron in this because I feel like the only thing that Michael has at this point is rings, which is very important. But if that's the case, Bill Russell has more, and we're not bringing up Bill Russell with LeBron. You know what I mean? So I do think that that's an interesting thing. If we're talking about someone who's going to be the top scorer of all time and top 5 in assists, top 4 to be
mm,
exact, like that's a special thing, right? I
mm,
also look at, like I said, the rings are Michael's, but I feel like the quality of competition he's played against. I'd like to see Michael, you know, uh, Scottie Pippen and them play against the Steph Curry Warriors team. Mind you, we can't do that stuff. So I'm just
mm.
throwing out hypothetical stuff out here of why I have LeBron first. But personally, I I gotta say no. And the reason I gotta say no is because a couple of years ago, LeBron said he was chasing Michael Jordan, right?
Mm.
Chasing the ghost. And what LeBron had as his qualifier, didn't really state it, but in his qualifier, in the interview that he gave, forgot where, but you can look it up, just a ghost of Michael Jordan, LeBron James, he was talking about championships.
Mm.
So If you change it now, you have every right to do so. You're like, hey, I didn't know, 7 years ago I'd be number one in scoring and top five in assists. And looking at that, I'm like, hey, I want another ring. Like looking at that, I'm in contention. But going by what he said himself or what he alluded to, is kind of the championships, right? I would say this would be a key factor for most. It is a key factor for me. It wasn't like Michael Jordan retired for stuff other than personal absences like the baseball sabbatical and leaving again in '99 because he's wanted to leave. Like all due respect, that's on him. Like Michael played this song, but he didn't. So we can't talk about what he didn't do. It's such a weird argument for me. I've gone back and forth all over the place. Listen, Michael's everywhere. He's not going to go away. He's the GOAT for so many. This conversation might not even be a real legitimate argument for so many people for another 30 years or so, right? And even then, those old timers at that point, because they will be, are going to be like, when I saw Michael in '96, da da da. Like it is what it is. So I don't fault either for their opinion. I just think when you look at the scope of LeBron's excellence, the way that he's been able to play at such a level of 38 when we've seen our favorite players become, if they're still playing, shells of themselves at that time. You get 10 points from, Kareem or Kobe at 37. It's like, oh my goodness, vintage 10 points. You know what I mean? Like if you look at all that he's done for how long he's done it, the consistent excellence, the quality of the competition, the championships, the points, the assists, all of that into summation, that makes LeBron it for me. But I don't know. Michael, man, has so many people just. I mean, shout out to my guy Bo Estes, the NBA top 10, but he always says I always go back to Michael, and I try to say and always lose. No, it doesn't, but it kind of does. Like he, made the runway, and people are so drawn to that I don't know. It's so much that LeBron had to fight past. I don't know if it happens.
I don't think he can. I just think it's just the peak of Michael is still better than the peak of LeBron, and I think I'll
Whoa,
never shake that. The peak of Michael, I
Miami
think you
LeBron?
the peak's better. The peak's better.
Okay, Miami LeBron. I'm just saying that one more time so we understand. Like
Yeah.
Michael scored more, yes, but
Yes.
that's it.
I mean, it's not just that.
I mean,
I wouldn't say his defense was
defensive
still
player of the
there,
year,
and
he
he was
got
doing it
back.
without threes.
LeBron could have been defensive player of the year back
I
then.
mean, he's doing it without threes. This is the part of it too. Is like
That's
LeBron,
because he couldn't
Michael is
shoot.
doing it. Like he's averaging 38 a night in what was it, year 3 with no 3-pointer at all. Like I
Okay, I'm
think
gonna let you
he
finish.
had
I'm
a
sorry.
38% usage rate in year 2. Like there was so much on his shoulders immediately in the league where like I think we just kind of take for granted just how dominant. Like he had no bad seasons in his prime. Like he had no playoff failures. He had no like just down years. Like I understand the taking time away stuff, but like LeBron, man. I mean, I don't think
The
this is like I can
competition,
appreciate
though,
both,
right?
but I'm saying like peak Michael. When you go back and watch, like I've watched so many of those games and I enjoy them both. They're just so different in the way they attack the game. And LeBron is a much more gifted passer, obviously, and I think a lot more fun to play with. But like in a 7-game series, I think most guys during that era would be like, yeah, Michael's scared. Like Michael's just wired differently. Michael is
He
just
was built
wired
differently.
in a different way. And I think LeBron is just always gonna be more of like a Magic, like he's somewhere like he's a souped up best version of Magic Johnson, but like Michael is just he was so good on both sides of the floor. He did it without threes. He got to the line 10 times a game. Like he really did just put his stamp on every single big moment and just never came up short. Like he never had any finals losses. Like he never had those just issues. And I understand Scotty and Dennis were a part of it, but it's still the dude I think is the all-time best competitor. And I think even like that's not even a shot at LeBron because it's like I don't think many people are wired like Michael, but I think he was just the most ferocious competitor of his era, and he was also the most talented. And I think those two things just went hand in hand. And I don't think LeBron was ever wired that way. And I think anybody who, even in like just guys who play both, like Steve Kerr is probably a good person to ask on this if you ever got true serum out of him having played with Michael and then also just watching LeBron and then beating LeBron in the finals and losing to him too. So on both, you got to see both sides of it. But like, I think if you had to, you're like you just had to have a gut feel as to like, okay, who would I rather have in this win or go home situation? Like, would I rather put the ball in Michael's hands in the half court, or would I rather put the ball in LeBron's hands? And I think most folks would put the ball. I would say they're like, all right, well, when you put it that way, yeah, Michael is going to score there and probably win. LeBron's probably going to find the right pass to J.R. Smith in the corner. And it's just different. They were different. LeBron's still my second best player of all time, but I still think Michael will never be touched. I don't think we'll ever see anyone who competes at that level and dominates and just takes over game after game the way Michael did.
I get you. Listen, I'm gonna say something controversial here. Michael's mentality was great. Michael didn't shoot threes because he wasn't a good 3-point shooter, right?
Well, he could have if he learned. If Michael wanted to be,
why didn't he? Why didn't he play in the
well, it
league?
wasn't the era. Like, it wasn't the era. He was scoring 30 a game without it.
90s. Reggie Miller was going well. That he made his game that way, and he also scored.
Yes.
I'm just saying, Mitch Richmond, another guy who embraced the 3-point shot. Like, there's other contemporary shooting guards of his era.
Michael shot 66 total threes in 86, and he still averaged 33 a night.
That, mind you, that's true. That's true. And also, I feel like I'd say one thing too. If you look at all the teams that LeBron played in the finals and all the teams that Michael played in the finals, listen, those Utah Jazz teams shouldn't have sniffed it. Like half the time they went to the finals, it was almost fait complete. Like, you know, like it just wasn't. I think he played in the height of expansion during his later years that let the unprecedented, like, you know, three-peat double happen. Because in the early 90s, I'll give him that, right? Like, you know, that Lakers team, somebody had to be there. They were the end of their rope, but they found it. That Portland Trailblazers team was good. Clyde just wasn't Michael, right? And the 93 Suns team was good as well, but they didn't have anyone for Jordan as well. So fine. But that 96, 97, 98, I think at that point, like, Michael coasted a little bit more. 72-10, like he was playing teams. The East was weaker. Some of his rivals that he had come up with in the early 90s were aging out now. You have the Knicks, you know, the Heat were kind of still in the mix, but they weren't there. They just wasn't anyone on his level like that. Where LeBron's competition, I think, was so much tougher consistently throughout. And also, player empowerment age made it so much harder or easier for Jordan because he didn't have that. Because so many teams go, no, I'm going to be the best player of my team. Listen, Reggie Miller, all due respect, you're like the second best or third best player of the team. But, you know, pride and all that, you're going to be the leader of your team. Well, great. You're going against Michael. That's not when you're going to win, when he didn't win, right? Same with Patrick Ewing. Same, like, there's a bunch of guys he was kind of going against second bananas who were masquerading as first guys. That's my opinion. But here's my.
Do you know what he averaged in the 93, the third year of the three-peat? Do you know what he averaged in the playoffs?
33, 34? What?
35, 6, and 6. He played 41 minutes a night. 41. There's no load management era for Michael. He's playing bonkers minutes over and over and over again. He played 45 minutes a game in the 86 playoffs for them.
That's okay. I'll give you those numbers. I think if Michael's in this era, he's Anthony Edwards. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't.
That's all I'm going to say. You know, I mean, listen, the cats he was playing against, I think him and Larry Bird get so much flack because the defenders that we have now in this league, they didn't have then. Like
Michael's going to score against these defenders. Michael's going to have his way.
Relatively, I agree. But, I mean, not like LeBron. That's what I'm standing on.
That was, I can't believe you snuck in that. Just, he would be Anthony Edwards now.
He would be Anthony Edwards. Prime Anthony Edwards is going to be 80s. Like.
Well, no, I love Anthony Edwards, by the way. But, like.
Oh, I love him too.
We'll see. Anthony Edwards still, like, I don't know if people realize this. He still has the potential in the next 2 years. Like, his ceiling is still best player in the NBA. Like, that's just, there's not many guys in this league who it's like, oh, if everything goes right, he's the best player in the NBA. Like, not many wings like that who can shoot, who can defend, who have his size. Like, Anthony Edwards could be the best player in basketball. Now, will he ever get there? He's with the Timberwolves, so unlikely in that organization. But could he theoretically get there? Yes, and I will maintain that. We'll see if that happens. Last thing on the Lakers, though, what do you ultimately expect? If you had to guess what the Lakers do, what do you think they do? And if you were Mitch Kupchak, wow, going back years ago, if you're Rob Pelinka, what do you do this week?
Listen, LeBron, you have so much media on you right now. You have so many people on you right now that all eyes are on LA, right? You have LeBron about to be literally the top scorer in NBA history, literally making history, one of the highest. It's never been done. And you are 13th in the Western Conference. I mean, it's been done before, but it hasn't been done in like 40 years. That's what I meant to say. Almost 40 years, 38 years to be exact. And you are like 13th and safely there. You're looking up at the Houston Rockets. You know what I mean? You're looking up at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Not the Houston Rockets, my mistake. You're looking up at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, you can't be telling me that you aren't going to make any moves with a guy playing like he is at age 38 doing this, and you are sitting behind such luminaries in the Western Conference as the Jazz, the Trailblazers, and the Thunder. You're only ahead of the Spurs and the Rockets. Thank God for Texas, right? Like, that's it. So I think they have to be aggressive as all get out. I cut them some slack for Kyrie. It looked like Joe Tsai wasn't going to trade Kyrie anywhere he wanted to go. It seems like that was LA. So Joe Tsai said, "Buck that," right? I said buck. So, like, there it is with that. But aside from that, I mean, you have to find something. The problem is, it's like we talked about earlier in the show here when it comes to the Nets. Okay, you have 2 first-round picks, 27, 29. That's great. You can throw in Russell Westbrook. Boom, that matches salary. What are you going to get for that? Because if it's a package built around Mike Conley, Jared Vanderbilt, and Malik Beasley, okay, like 2 first-round picks for that? You know, I mean, it gives you some team flexibility. Jared Vanderbilt's a young forward who's been playing really well in Utah. You have a team option for Malik Beasley next season and non-guaranteed for Mike Conley. So if you're trying to maintain some flexibility, it's great. But you're giving 2 first-round picks for a marginal upgrade at best? Don't know about that, right? Do you look at Detroit for Bojan Bogdanovic? And if Detroit's offering they want 2 first-rounders from, they're smoking. So you're not doing that. Do you go over to Toronto? See what you can get for that. I'm sure other teams can do a lot better.
Did Fran VanVleet hire Rich Paul?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's that. You know, if you can make that clutch connection work out, right? But if not, okay, like Masai Ujiri ultimately is going to be the one who trades him, and he's not a clutch. No, I'm fine. Obviously not. But you know what I mean? So there's that as well. I mean, where are you going to get the package that you want? Charlotte? I mean, come on now. Like, if those guys are really playoff contributors, you would have lost it on a 15-30-16, right? So, like, the packages that are available for the Lakers to add to their team to make things happen aren't happening. Like, the math ain't mathing with it. So, I don't know. Trust me, I want something to happen. I want there to be a move that will vault the Lakers to, listen, I'll say 6th place in the West. I'll take it. At the end of the day, if AD and LeBron are healthy and playing well, both important things, I'll take them in a matchup against anyone. But then again, like I said, if they're healthy and playing well, we saw their most recent game against the Pelicans. LeBron didn't have a great night. He didn't. AD played well, and the role players gave what they can muster, but they can't muster a whole lot. And if those two don't come to play, it's not going to happen. And if those two are on the floor at all, it's definitely not going to happen. So you want to try to cobble together a trade that works out for them. I don't know what that is, but I would imagine that Rob Pelinka, and this really reductive, he has to make a move. You have to do something. And it has to be something that seems like substantial, even if it isn't. Like, that Utah thing seems substantial. You can't walk away and say, we did Rui Hachimura, and we're looking at the buyout market. Because I'm going to demand to come on the show, Chase, and just rant. But so far, it seems like, according to Dan Woke from the Los Angeles Times, it's Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., Bogdan Bogdanovic from Atlanta, Bojan Bogdanovic from Detroit, who the Pistons said isn't available unless they're blown away, so just take him off. Terry Rozier and Mike Conley. Like, none of those guys are ideal. Could they move the
Fred VanVleet's ideal, depending on what the package is. Fred VanVleet is ideal.
Mistake. Fred VanVleet is ideal. Gary Trent Jr. is marginal. Fred VanVleet's the only one I'd say is ideal. But all those other guys, I mean, they'll move the needle just because our backcourt's not super great.
But you're not winning a title.
Even with Fred VanVleet in tow, let's say he's there right now for Russell Westbrook, 2 first-round picks.
They probably throw in Gary Trent too, because like Gary Trent wants to move on anyway. I think Gary Trent will probably be in the trade.
Trent Jr. and you add on another contract. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's say Lonnie Walker. I don't want to say Lonnie Walker. I like the kid, but let's say you say Lonnie Walker. Do you say, okay, we look at this roster now: LeBron, AD, Dennis Schroeder, Pat Beverly, Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr. One of those is probably going to be gone.
Austin Reeves,
Thomas Bryant, Wenyen Gabriel. Like,
Thomas Bryant's been good.
Thomas Bryant's been good. Not defensively.
Yeah. So that's okay. Like, if you get 12 minutes of him spacing the floor and at least shooting well, he has value. And that's why you brought in Rui, right?
In theory, yes. his Lakers tenure has been shaky to me because
Yeah.
he hasn't been shooting the three very well to begin with, and defensively he's been shaky. But just having more size out there has been helpful,
Yeah.
and the rebounding's been big as well. So I don't know. Like if I look
All
at
you
it, like
need to
I
do with
can.
Rui is just keep showing him, like, he's not allowed to leave the facility without watching 2 hours a day of Markieff Morris during the title run with the
There you go.
Lakers. Like, that's all
That's it.
he should be allowed to watch, is, like,
Yep.
that's what you're watching, that's who we want you to be, nothing else. We're not playing you if this is not exactly who you are every single night.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think that'd be smart, especially since he's spring year. I mean,
Yeah.
also Markieff was 30 when he finally joined. You're 23, 24. Like you can do more,
Mhm.
but definitely within that line.
Give me the name that you would most like to see moved most ahead of the deadline, and why?
I mean, Kyrie was already moved.
Mm,
Oh, this is easy. John
okay.
Collins.
John Collins?
Yeah,
I
I'm
got some
sorry.
bad news about John
I'm sorry,
Collins.
Chase. I just feel like he's been being traded. I'm muting myself. Why am I myself talking? Lord, he's been talked about in trade rumors for so much.
Mm.
Obviously, not valued by Atlanta highly. I mean, all actions the contrary if he is. Just saying. So move him. Give him somewhere where he's going to be appreciated. Give him somewhere he's going to be valuable. Like he can help a lot of teams. He can be nice in Brooklyn right now. You know, I'm not sure if y'all want Ben Simmons or matching salary back. That wouldn't be matching
No.
salary. Ben Simmons makes
I
more,
can't
but
handle Trae
you know,
Young in a Ben Simmons led team. I can't. I
no,
can't do that.
no. Listen, yeah, no, I'm with you. It'd be horrible, but
I
like,
can't
I
do
just
that.
want John Collins. I like some of these guys that we hear all the time that have been talking about being traded
Mm,
to be moved. Also, I mean, Mark Stein apparently said that Milwaukee's expressed interest in New York's Derrick Rose, so why not? Like,
that's weird.
thank you. I agree. So I don't know. Like these. I just want action. You know what I mean?
Mm.
If I want a guy who I need to be moved, it's probably John Collins again, just because we've talked about him trade deadline after trade deadline for what feels like 6 years now, and we know it
Forgot where I
hasn't.
was reading where they said in a passing note, I think it was Kevin O'Connor in The Ringer, it was like, he, like, if you remember, he broke the ring finger on his shooting hand,
Hmm.
a while ago, and he's shooting 23% still on the
Yeah.
year from 3. Like, his shot has been atrocious. He's still doing everything else, like, he rebounds hard, he plays hard defense, like, he's not like, he's able to do stuff it affect the game in other ways. Like, his shot's not there, and that's been hard because he plays a lot of minutes with Clint Capella. So that's why the offense is, I mean, taking a step back. Not just DeJounte and Trey taking turns, or not just having DeAndre Hunter in and out of the lineup, or Bogey not for the first part of the year. Kevin Herter being no longer a part of this team for nothing is a big reason why they're playing Justin Holiday. This is neither here nor there. What is true is just that, like, if Collins' finger never gets right and his shots never coming back, like, he shot 36% from 3 last year. That's around league average, but if he's not anywhere close and that finger's messed up, like, I don't know what his value is. Like, I don't know. Then he's like Kenneth Faried. Like, he goes from a stretch 4 who can do different stuff to, like, the Markieff Morris types, who can
You can
play
maybe
4 or
do a little
5
anything.
depending on
Mhm.
your lineup, and hit corner threes, but also play really hard defense, and just someone who can bang down low. I'm concerned. Like, the shot is still not there. We're February 7th, and if that's the thing, but I wonder if that's part of the issue right now with him getting moved. It's just that, like, what if teams around the league all know about the finger and are like, if he's not gonna, if the shot's never coming back, or the shot isn't coming back this season, why would we give up a lot of assets ahead of the deadline? Because he's not gonna move the needle, because he can't shoot enough to move the needle.
Mhm. No, I agree. I mean, I feel like he's somebody. If Atlanta didn't keep trying to hike up the price, would be a buy low kind of guy. You know what I mean?
I think
Marginal
Lauren wants him,
asset.
like, a Christian Wood for John Collins type deal.
I would like that. I think that Christian Wood would
I
give a
think
nice
Atlanta would do that.
inside. Yeah, and they give a nice I mean, personalities. That'd be fun. But they give a nice inside outside mix between
Mm,
Clint Capella and um Wood. You know,
mm,
and making that work out. I think that John Collins would fit perfectly in Dallas, being able to play that power kind of forward slash center spot, space the floor just enough. Maybe he finds the shooting again. If he
mm.
doesn't, not super ideal, but better than what they have currently. Um. So no, I think that like the possibility of moves like that would be great. I just feel like I would like to see him move. Just 'cause I'm tired of talking about him every year. It's clear that Atlanta doesn't value him like that. All
Yeah.
despite everything they say, you see it right now. Mind you, his play's also been slipping. So soon, if they don't trade him this year, what? They're gonna wait till next year where they really won't get much because there's only so many years you get. He's not gonna play up to like what he used to, and you're gonna want like premium return before teams are like, all right, cut it, you know. But aside from that, let's get something in Toronto. Let's see OG Anunoby moved. I want to see something spicy. Like I need to see a move of a guy who like we talked about could be moved, but we weren't quite sure. But like a big name, like Derrick Rose, I didn't think he'd be moved, but also I didn't care. You know what I mean? Like, all right, whatever. But like, let me get like a big move done, and not Kyrie, because once he requested a trade after all this stuff, I knew he was gonna be moved. So I need something outside the box.
I want DeAndre Ayton moved.
Ooh.
That'd be funny. Like I want to see the Suns. Like I want to see what they do, because I think they're just another team that's just floating, and hoping everything goes, just kind of they all get healthy and the switch just flips on. Like Cam's healthy, and then they trade Jay Crowder, Mikhail's healthy, Chris is healthy, Devin comes back and he's back to his MVP level form, and then hey, we're right back into contention in the West. Like I don't know. Like it's a big gamble, to kind of stand pat and just bet on your health and just getting your guys back that you'll be fine, ready to go. But I don't know. I think DeAndre Ayton floating back out there would be interesting. I don't know if anyone else really jumps to mind outside of that. I guess Pascal is probably the best one, where it's like because of the Raptors, and I think he's played like an all-star even if he didn't make the team. Him being moved, I'd be curious to see if he moved the needle for a contender. Like if you added Pascal and then suddenly it's like this team who we were and then it's like, oh, he really is like, can you put him around other all-stars or on a contender, he reaches another level. So I don't know. Pascal
he's such a unique player,
yeah,
though, that I feel like he's not a system player, but he's not like a perfect, like great shooter to be that type of guy to space out. He does a little more playmaking than maybe you'd want unless you're doing on and off with another guard. He's a unique piece, but I agree. Like that'll be interesting. I mean, all these guys are talking about bring him to the Lakers, right? Like
Pascal doesn't fit the Lakers.
No, he doesn't. But it's talent. It's talent at the end of the day. Like right now, the way the Lakers are constructed, you're right. It's gonna be weird for sure. But at the end of the day, listen, if we're talking about like the stockpiling of talent in the Western Conference, the Lakers are short of ammo. You know what I mean? Like they don't quite level up.
Yeah, we'll see what ultimately happens. But I feel like VanVleet ends up in one of the two LA teams. That's my guess.
It's not the Clippers, and if it is, I hope they got him. Sorry, personal bias there. I mean, both teams are going to do something. Like you have to either be swayed by those two unprotected first-round picks, which with Rob Pelinka at the helm, I would be, and that's Lakers bias aside. I do not trust the Lakers front office outside of drafting talent specifically into the second round. Like they've done a great job of that. Max Christie over James oh my goodness, Jaden Hardy. There you go.
Okay,
that's the only one. I was like, it's not James Hardy. Why am I thinking James Harden? But because he's playing like him. But anyways, no, I didn't like Max Christie over Jaden Hardy. That's the one thing I didn't. But aside from that, I've liked every pick that the Lakers have done in their scouting department. But aside from that, just the way they look at assets, the way they make trades, all of that. Listen, if I'm getting picks from them in the future, I'm just sitting tight. We're going to be good in a couple of years. Let's start looking at those 10-year-olds.
There you go. Last thing, and we'll wrap up here tonight, Corban. Anthony Edwards, was he the biggest all-star snub for you? He is averaging 26, 6, and 5 shooting. He's almost near the 50-40-90 club. I mean, we talk about him like you made the joke about MJ, but it's like what we've seen without Karl Anthony Towns. It's his team. He's made this jump. Like everyone wants to throw in De'Aaron Fox as that a guy who's just should get an all-star spot when guys opt out with injury stuff and everything else. But like Anthony Edwards, I think he's right there. And that's one name we didn't mention because he's hurt, but like Karl Anthony Towns is probably the odd man out in Minnesota because like you're locked in with Gobert. You can't really do anything there. And it didn't work. Like it was a mess with those two. And it's now Anthony Edwards' team. You kind of have to build around Edwards and Gobert and see what you can do. And I if he was healthy, I'm sure Karl Anthony Towns would be generating a lot of interest, but maybe that's more of a summer thing for Cat. But I don't know. Is Anthony Edwards the biggest all-star snub for you, or was there someone else who you thought deserved it and didn't make it?
It's Anthony Davis easily for me because
okay. No, was it Anthony? It could be Anthony Davis.
I'm gonna give you my three in order. Thank you. I'm gonna give you my three in order. It's Anthony Edwards first. It's Anthony Davis second, and then it's De'Aaron Fox third. I get De'Aaron Fox because of the winning, right?
No Eastern Conference snubs.
Huh?
No. No Eastern Conference snubs.
I apologize. Yeah. No, he's like Jay Butler's been all right. Jalen Brunson's been all right. Pascal Siakam. like these guys I'm looking at for different reasons. Sacramento's been great. You got to reward a team that's up there, right? And if you look at that, like you're looking at a guy in both Domantas Sabonis and also De'Aaron Fox, right? De'Aaron Fox numbers, I mean, he's averaging the most points and rebounds and assists since his 2020-2021 season. So, you know, he had to step back last year, so that's great. But the numbers are great. And, you know, I could see both teams I could see the Sacramento Kings deserving of 2 All-Stars, right? And I would have wanted both Edwards or Fox over Paul George. Because going to Edwards, this career high in points, rebounds, assists, efficiency's been great. He's taking over a much bigger role offensively, a much higher usage rate, having to deal with more both focused defensive attention and the own limitations of his team in clogging the paint, not getting loud shooters, bringing Rudy Gobert, and the lack of chemistry there, and still somehow thriving and having the Timberwolves at the time that they were made the All-Star selections only a game behind the Clippers. So and playing most of the games, fighting through a hip injury. I definitely had Edwards second. Or Edwards first, rather, Fox second. And then, like, come on now, for a minute, Anthony Davis had all the hype for almost a solid month. Lakers like, all right, make a move now. Look how great he's playing. Like, he was dominant. You know what I mean? Those numbers are great. He's missed some games. Well, guess what? A lot of those guys you have in that starting lineup, not in the starting lineup, but in that roster, have missed games as well. And I get the not winning, which, you know, but they were winning if you took the record of just when Anthony Davis played, that's still good enough to make your argument for it. So that's what I would put. I mean, he was averaging like almost 30 points a game, 13 rebounds, a block, a steal. Like the guy was a monster, you know? And I think he had a more impactful stretch of play when healthy than we've seen a lot of other guys so far this season, this entire time, dealing with less injuries. So that would be my top 3. On the East, I don't know. Like all those guys had similar numbers to me. Like, yeah, you can make an argument for Jimmy Butler, I guess. You can make an argument for Pascal Siakam as well. You mean 26, 8, and 8 or something like that, 25, 8, and 8. That looks good, you know. And if we're talking about a snub of someone who should have went in and placed somebody, then yeah, like Kevin Durant's not playing, so we'll see who gets brought in, right? And on the West side, Steph Curry's not playing, so we'll see who gets brought in for that. I think whoever gets selected as the replacement, I think we'll really see from there what that looks like. But I think Sacramento's going to get it, like the beam and all that, you know?
There you go. I like it. Corban, what can the good folks check out from you all across the internet this week?
You know what? I'm doing some trade guides. Now they went from trade guides to division trade guides because honestly, like, I don't know how you do. I'm trying to get like you on the NBA side in terms of getting all these guests and everything. It's a lot, and your boy did not finish the assignment. So we're gonna just generalize some more of these teams here.
Okay.
But you can find that. I got a new project coming up. Can't release it just yet, but a new little audio series event is going to be coming up soon. So definitely stay tuned for that. You can find all of that if you are so inclined on Twitter or Instagram at Corban NBA. Actually, just stick to Twitter at Corban NBA.
There you go. Corban, thank you as always, my friend. Lauren, we missed you this week. Happy early birthday to Lauren Gunn. Go wish her a happy birthday as the folks are listening to this this week on our Twitter and all that good stuff. But Corban, thank you as always, my friend, and I will talk to you again very soon.
Yes, sir.